Well, I met Dr. Howell when Barry became a resident at Seven Hills Pediatric Nursing Facility because I couldn't take care of him at home anymore. He became too medically challenging. And I was already part of the palliative care group at Children's Hospital. And I was really happy when she told me that she was part of that also and that she had been part of it. It was a big decision, one of the biggest, hardest, most difficult decisions of my life. And it affected not just me, but my whole family. So what had happened, and it started like in the spring of 2012, Barry started having these very long seizures, uncontrollable. It's one lasted for 3 hours. And he would get pneumonia so bad afterwards. One time he had to be intubated. They were trying all kinds of things. They were changing around his anti-seizure medications so that, and we would come home for, we were in and out of the hospital from May up until the following January when he ended up in Seven Hills all the time. And each time it would get a little more serious, it seemed like. But the decision came when I realized we weren't going to be able to send Barry to school anymore because he wasn't going to be able to safely ride on the van because we thought we had a protocol that would help him stop seizing if he did start seizing on the bus. That we found out very quickly that wasn't going to work. His health had really deteriorated, and so we knew that he needed 24-hour now care. Even though I was doing 20, this was a little different and was more involved. Mm-hmm. So when Barry was living at home, when we would have an emergency, I'd have to call 911. My local paramedics would come. I cannot say enough about them. They became our friends too. They just were awesome, but they would have to take him to the local hospital. Then they'd have to call the transport from Children's Hospital, and it was a very big deal. Then we'd end up in the hospital. But when it became evident that Barry really wasn't going to be able to go home anymore, the palliative team really had helped me. So I remember the first time I met with them, I met with them with just me and Barry and not his siblings. And they were the ones that finally told me it was okay to say out loud what I would think about some of the times by myself, like, what's going to happen if I can't take care of him. In December of 2012, it became very apparent, after Barry had to be intubated and, his secretions were out of control. No matter what, we had tried everything to try to get him to be able to come home. I had talked with the palliative care team, and they said that we should have they call it a family meeting at the hospital where Barry's, his neurologist was there and pulmonologist, and there were a lot of people who came, just not because they had to be there, but because they cared. They had followed Barry since birth, and they had seen us as a family. Because if I remember correctly, they had asked some people to step outside with enough room in the room. And we had Kristen on speakerphone so that she could be part of it. And they allowed us to ask as many questions as we could, and my girls came prepared, especially poor Lexi, who almost made the neurologist cry. It was a very difficult decision, but I knew in order to keep him safe and give him quality for whatever time he had left, I had to let go.
When families are making that decision, whether it be respite or placement for long-term care, we know that it rips at their heart every time. Like you said, it's probably the hardest decision you made because it had an impact on Barry, on you, on his sisters, and profoundly so on Lexi, who was closest in age and closest to him.